On this episode, we answer the question of what kind of car do you drive when you race pro stock for a living and you race this in retirement? Welcome back to Your Par. On this episode, we have a very special car with a very special owner. I'd like to welcome 2012 Pro Stock NHRA champion, Alan Johnson. Welcome and thank you so much for being on.
Oh, you know, it's always a pleasure to represent the brand, and the Mopar contingent is still heavy in our lives. So thanks for having me.
And thank you for being such a great ambassador to the brand for so many years, you and your dad. So, you know, like normally you're out racing cars, but today we got something a little bit more streetable here. What you bring out today?
You know, this is the first car I ever owned. It's a 1971 Dodge Challenger convertible that my dad gave me when I was 15 years old. Drove it all through high school and got it restored about 15 years ago, and still making improvements to it every day.
Right, as any car project, it's never done, right? Yeah. So what kind of powertrain does it have in it?
You know, this came with a 318 3-speed, and when I restored the car, we put in the high performance 360 with the 4-speed transmission, so it sort of reminded me of the Strip.
Right, absolutely, and who doesn't love to bang gears, right?
Yeah.
So Alan and I are going to walk around the Challenger, show you some of the things that make it a 1971 version of the car, and go for a quick ride afterwards. So we're going to start right here on the side like I always do, and the two easy ways to tell it's not a 72 3 or 4 Challenger is the marker lights. They have a bit of a bevel on the front and on the back, where the 72 through 4 are a little thinner, or not thinner, but they're like actually a rectangle, so you don't have that bevel. The other way is the white convertible top. They actually stopped making convertibles in 1962, so those are like telltale signs straight away from the side.
And the weakest part of a Dodge Challenger, by the way, if there is a weak part that I've bought many out of a junkyard, is this right here. These doors are so heavy that this piece right here is made out of white metal, I call it.
Yep.
And I've broke about 10 of them during my 10-year driving this car.
That's true, yeah, and as the viewers know, I've got a 74 CUDA, and yep, I've had to replace them myself. So we're gonna go ahead and walk around the car now and show you some of those other features. So we've moved to the back of the Challenger, and the tail lights and the tail panel is a 71 exclusive. It has the reverse light in the center with the red lights on both sides of it. It also says Challenger in the center, and that'll be a handful of color combinations. It can be body color, it can be black, or it can be the gray like it is here. But then again, this is just a 1-year model use. You don't see this on a 70, you don't see it on a 72 through 74. And Alan, what do you have your hand on there?
You know, one of the coolest parts of the car, I think, is the luggage rack. Just gives it a unique look. Not many cars was ever made with something like this, and it's just a quality feature of the Challenger.
Yeah, and it's very fitting with the convertible. It makes you seem like you want to go take it out on a road trip.
Yeah, it really does. It's just really cool item on this car.
I absolutely love it. So we're going to go ahead and keep walking around the car and show you the rest of it. All right, so Alan and I have moved up to the front of the car, and it's kind of the same story as the back. This was a 1-year only grille design. You see it has 2 small grills inside the full grille opening. And if you're saying to yourself, hey, that looks familiar, that's because Dodge actually used this styling for the 15 newer Dodge Challengers. So that's where they got the 2 grill idea from. The 14 and older Challengers, well, those came from a 70 Challenger. And now, you were saying most of the car is original, right, but something about this hood's a little special, right?
Yeah, there's 3 pieces on this car that's not original. The hood being from the 344 barrel car, a little more sporty. The 318 and 3-speed come with a flat hood. I still have that hood and those that engine and transmission from the original car. That's all I would have to change to put this car back totally original.
Perfect. Well, we're going to pop the hood here in just a second and show you the 360 that's underneath it. Okay, so we've got the hood popped on Alan's Challenger here, and he told us he pulled the 318 out. Tell us what we have in here now.
You know what, this is the crate engine direct from Mopar that you can still buy. 360 high performance, about 500 horsepower I think, or real close. A couple years ago when Pro Stock went to EFI, we decided to pull off the old carburetor version of the deal and go to the exact same Holley EFI Dominator and the MSD7 technology. It's exactly like we run the Pro Stock car. So I can get the same computer I tuned the Pro Stock car with and set in the driver's seat and made me a plug back there and set the computer back there and program it, a little more fuel, a little less fuel. It's really simple technology. So it really made the car easier warm up and drivability. Very, very good.
For sure. Like, as great as carburetors were for as long as they were, EFI is light years ahead of it, as I'm sure you can agree to.
Oh yeah, this thing, it really runs good now. I'm still messing with the tune-up on decel and warm up, but I'll get it right after a while.
Perfect. Well, excuse me, how about we hop in and go for a ride?
I'd love to.
So here we are. I'm riding in Alan Johnson's 71 Dodge Challenger with Alan Johnson driving me in his Dodge Challenger. I'm like a kid in a candy store right now. I can't believe this. One thing about his e-body versus my e-body is it handles 100 times better. You can tell this has more of a factory road suspension on it than mine, which has like more of a drag suspension on it. So you've done a great job on that suspension, making it feel soft and smooth.
Yeah, we've redone everything on the suspension. It's got new everything, and just done that when we done the EFI. So it's been a joy getting this thing back to drivability like it was straight out of the factory, with maybe just a little bit more horsepower.
I understand. And for those that don't know, the e-body, the Challenger and the Barracuda, the Plymouth version, only lasted from 70 to 74, so it was a relatively short run. So the cars are pretty desirable, especially in the convertible anymore. They're fetching some big bucks at like Barrett Jackson and Mecum auctions anymore. So this is a gem for sure. I mean,
I've got a definite love for it. You know, my dad gave it to me when I was 15 years old, and it was totaled, and he said fix it. So I've got a lot of hours of work in this thing, and then a gentleman named Dipsy Anderson restored it for me. He's a big race fan, and he done an excellent job. He restores a lot of old Hemi Cudas and stuff. So he done a great job on it. He's a big Mopar drag race fan, so that didn't hurt at all. But it's got some of that great horsepower, you know, like the shirt says, imported from Detroit.
Absolutely. And I usually, with it being a standard, we shift it into what I call overdrive and ask you some questions. And you kind of already answered one of them, which is, why do you love this car? I mean, like you said, your dad gave it to you and you spent some time fixing it up, and I'm sure you have a lot of memories from high school days in it.
Yep. Went on a lot of dates in this car, and maybe done just a little bit of that taboo street racing you can't do.
Oh yeah, don't do that.
You don't want to do that, you get hurt. Probably lucky I didn't. But you know, it was a great car all through high school.
All right. And so, why does your family love the Mopar brand so much? Like, where does that come from?
You know, my dad started out working at a Dodge dealership as a line mechanic in the early '60s, and he just fell in love with it and was soon known as the guy to go to work on all the old muscle cars. Especially the Dodges and the Plymouths and the GTXs, and his first car that he really got, that he sunk his teeth into, was a '68 Roadrunner 383 automatic. And I can remember on the dash on that side, maybe again that taboo street racing, sitting over as an 8-year-old saying, "Go Dad, go Dad." You got him, I think.
That's funny. It's so funny that you say that. Like, I was driving with my 4-year-old the other day, and he said in the back seat, "Going faster, Dad." So like, like it's amazing what kids will make you do, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So, huge Mopar family. You have had Mopar race cars. You have a beautiful Mopar we're sitting in. If you could have one other Mopar in the entirety of the Mopar brand, what would it be?
You know, I think I'd like to find my dad's old Roadrunner, yellow 383, and fix that thing up just exactly like he had it. Just an honor of him. That would be
amazing. That would be great.
Yeah.
Have you ever tried to find it?
No, I have not. don't have a clue where it's at, but one of these days I might set out on that adventure.
Well, I hope for your sake you do find it one day, because that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Another, like, the silly question I always ask is windows up or windows down, but in this case, is it windows up and top down, or what do you normally do?
You know what? In this car, I love to take the top down and get my wife in here and just cruise up through these beautiful mountains back here. So it's the windows down for sure.
Those are normally the questions I ask everybody, but since you're Alan Johnson, I'm going to ask you a couple more. In your racing career, what was like the one track you always marked on the calendar? That's the one you wanted to go to and win.
You know, most Mopar fans could answer this for you. It'd be Denver for sure.
Denver, that's what I was thinking.
Because they nicknamed me the Mountain Man out there.
Yes, they did. And I was wondering, like, I thought that question was like, it's either going to be Bristol, because it's your home track, or Denver, because you had such great success there.
Yeah.
And then lastly is, when you were racing pro stock, who was that one person you always wanted to be lined up next to, just because it was a good race, or it was whatever reason? There was some reason, that person.
You know, it had to be Erica.
Yeah, and you guys have a pretty special relationship.
We're really good friends, and you know, she's helped me and I've helped her, and we just developed that bond over the years. And you know, she'd have to be my favorite, but you know, when we lined up against one another, we went to kill one another, just like anybody else.
Fair enough. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Make sure you go check out Your Par on Facebook and Instagram to see still pictures of this car, and maybe a couple other cars that Alan has sitting around the shop. And make sure you subscribe. Comment below if you have any questions about the car or you'd like to be on a future episode. Until next time.